Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to another edition of Defining Moments. I'm your host, Larry Nix, and sometimes I do a little housework, a little housekeeping, I do a little monologue, but I'm not going to meander today because I am delighted to have two incredible guests in my program. It is one of those defining moments for me. What is a defining moment? I liken a defining moment as Jesus having his defining moment on the cross or in the Garden of Gethsemane or the sepulcher. Moses having his defining moment at the burning bush. David having his defining moment with Goliath. Moses having his defining moment with King Pharaoh. In other words, those defining moments God gives us not if but when, and those moments has the propensity to change the trajectory of our lives and our next step and our next move. And so I got to tell you what, if you're watching this broadcast via very social media apparatus, then you can tell that I have to my right, I have an incredible living legend to my far right in the studio with me in the person of Mr. James Meredith. People are able to attend public universities, public school, in part greatly because he affected the soul of man's consciousness. And I am delighted to have him in the studio. First of all, let me acknowledge him, and I'm going to be quiet most of the program because you need to hear less of me and you need to hear more of this historian. First of all, I will acknowledge him. Mr. James Meredith, welcome to Defining Moments, sir.
Thank you very much.
I am delighted to have my friend, Mr. Ferdinand McAfee. I describe him as a person that you really can't categorize. He is a singer, songwriter, composer. He is a broadcast engineer. More importantly, he embraces the title of being a social activist. He is a lot of things, and he has the capacity to do them well. God did not give him all of the gifts, but God certainly blessed him with many gifts. Ferdinand McAfee, he hails from Georgia and Louisiana and the Delta of Mississippi, where his current address is. That's where he hails from. Ferdinand McAfee, welcome back to Defining Moments, man.
Hello, how are you doing? Larry and I have known each other about 20 years. I keep telling him, call me Mac.
Don't call you by your whole government name.
I love my name, but geez. I'm doing well. I thought I'd surprise you today.
Man, what an incredible surprise. I knew you were coming. But when I saw the image of Mr. James Meredith, I was kind of speechless, and you know me, I have a lot of people in my Rolodex, but Mr. Meredith, he is history. And I'm on this radio. I'm not so naive to think that I'm on this radio because I'm so great. I'm on this radio. I have this radio program on this radio station in the state of Mississippi because he dared to say enough is enough.
Yes. And
when you unpeel the onion, I'm on this radio program because of the sacrifice of James Meredith.
And I'm on this radio program to remind you and everybody else who's listening that comes at a cost.
It does.
The cost is putting down your Starbucks and your hoo-hoos and wham-whams or whatever you eat and doing, right, and do something for society.
Right.
This stuff did not come for free.
Right.
If you think that the total responsibility of a citizen is to vote every 4 years, and that's all your job is, well, it's no wonder that the world is on fire.
Right.
Because you have to do more than sit back and say, oh, well, I don't like how this is going. You sometimes have to do what James Meredith did and get up off the couch and go change something that you don't like. And so we need to talk more than about historical context and talk about what does that mean today? Because the world is still not perfect today. So if there was a problem that rose to such a level that James Meredith had to get shot from the March Against Fear to fight an injustice, is it just now? Is everything fine today? Then why so much inaction by people who have so much more than they had back then? It's kind of infuriating and kind of blasphemous. So I'm here to merge history with the current time today and say that, you know what, we need to do a little bit more than talk about Black history. because Black history, just like white history and all other history, is a continual development.
And I'm afraid, Matt, that if we don't chronicle, and if we don't render the experiences and the life experiences of Mr. Meredith, we're gonna lose it. Let me tell you why. And that's a scriptural context that I just
And I
put that
call him
in.
Dr. Meredith. So
And Dr.
that's what I
Meredith.
call him. So
And guess what?
Yeah.
And so that's what I will call
Okay.
him as well, because he has earned that. All right. So I won't refer to him as James Meredith. So I will refer to him as Dr. Meredith, because he has earned that. All right. And so the children of Israel, God told the children of Israel to tell Joshua to tell the children of Israel, when you cross the Jordan River, go in and get 12 smooth stones.
Yes.
And I want you to place them there so that when the generations come past this way, they will be so curious as to ask, what thou these stones? Why are these 12 stones here representing 12 tribes? Okay. And then they will have an opportunity to say, this is how we got to where we are. Let me tell you something. We are where we are, particularly the African American community, branching out from there because
of our inaction,
Yeah.
of our apathy,
Yeah.
of our just plain being sorry,
Yeah.
and sitting back and letting stuff occur that should not occur for too long. And when it compounds over the last, all right, Dr. Martin Luther King, he was killed. He did not die of natural causes. He didn't slip and fall. Let's be clear. He was killed for the work that he was doing. So while that's a tragedy that everybody celebrates every year, how can one man's dying stop a whole race? There has been very little massive changes or advancement made in the last 50 years. But if you look at what's going on now, they're rolling back voting rights. They're rolling back affirmative action. They're rolling back, thank you, back into the era of 50 or 60 years ago. So if you're not moving forward, but your opposition is rolling things back, it doesn't take a physicist to know that before long, and by before long, I mean in the next 5 to 10 years, we've got catastrophic coming.
Well, I'm not going to talk about him as though he's not here in the third person as Mr. Meredith is, but it seems the fact that he has morphed into three initiatives or ministries of focus.
Mhm.
And I want you to spell those three defining periods out in his life. And then I certainly want you to introduce Mr. Meredith properly, Dr. Meredith properly.
Yes. So let me just say what he is doing is amazing. If you understand the thing that you first noticed about yourself when you were the youngest, this would be your talents. This is a part of your life's work. Michael Jackson's life work was to do music. They recognized at a very young age that was what he was best suited to do. So Dr. Meredith has 3 missions from God. The first one was to integrate Ole Miss, which we all know very well. The second one was the March Against Fear, and he was shot on his march from Memphis area to Jackson, Mississippi. And the final one, which is what's going on today in 2022 at the age of 88 years old, is a moral character building, moral upliftment, taking back to the foundational elements that society envelops. The 10 Commandments, the Golden Rule, and teaching these things so that society understands that you don't get too technologically advanced to do the right things for the right reasons. And that's what it's about. So I think we're going to probably introduce him and bring him up at the top of the next segment.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and introduce him now, because not only are people listening to us riding in their vehicles, but people are watching us on their various social media apparatus. We have a camera here, we have a camera there, and we have a camera there. So
let me officially do it.
Yeah.
So the important thing about him is many people associate him with Ole Miss and other things, but the thing that I take away from it is I have studied it. Dr. Meredith is the only singular human that I have found on planet Earth that any king, prime minister, or president has sent a standing army to defend the constitutional right of one person. John F. Kennedy sent 30,000 troops to Ole Miss to allow him to register to enter Ole Miss. Because the fundamental position that James Meredith had was true. He had gone to the military, he had defended the United States, and as such, with the constitutional rights to be able to enter any facility that is a federally funded, state-supported facility upon which all taxpayer money funds, then if they won't let him go in, then it's the president and the state and the army's duty to protect his civil rights. He wrote it in a letter to the president. John F. Kennedy read it and said, "I'll be doggone. I think he's got a point. Cue those 30,000 troops up and send them down there." So I have never heard of another single individual that a president or king or prime minister has done that for. And that encompasses all of his work, because that's a designation that is not easy to do. There's not been anybody else that I found that for. So this is who we have, Dr. James Meredith, and he is still working today, every day on his life's work.
You know what, Dr. James Meredith, once again, welcome to Defining Moments. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not seeing an aberration. If you're watching us, you're not listening to an aberration, but you are here witnessing a historic moment on Defining Moments with my guest, Dr. James Meredith with McAfee. Hold on, we'll be back in just a second. So Dr. Meredith, Mac, thank you for joining us. We know that you have opportunities to do other things, to be other places, to watch other things, to scroll other things, but I absolutely know that you're going to be blessed today. You're going to be encouraged and you're going to be educated. A question that I would like to ask before, because I don't want to lose anybody, because I'm sure people that are driving around, we have a lot of truck drivers that listen to this program, and I don't want to lose anybody. But a question that I would like to ask Dr. Meredith before we go back into our full audience, have you always known from a young child that you would be doing this kind of work?
I promise God I wasn't gonna lie no more. Yes.
Really? At what age did it hit you? And I want you to answer that on the other side of the break. What age did you know within yourself, I'm supposed to be doing this kind of social justice work? Stay tuned. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Defining Moments. I'm with my very special, delightful guest, Dr. James Meredith, on Defining Moments, along with Mac McAfee. I asked the question, have you known all of your life that you were supposed to be doing this kind of social justice work? And your answer is, Dr. Meredith?
Yes.
And so I asked the question, at what age did it resonate with you? I'm not supposed to be a farmer. I'm not supposed to be a doctor. I'm not supposed to be a lawyer. This is the work that I'm supposed to, that God has given my hands to do.
Before I was 4 years old, for certain, I did not know what I wanted it to be like. But I'd gone to the county seat, Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And whatever I saw there, I didn't like. And I wanted to change it. I didn't know exactly what to or why, but I knew I wanted to change it, and that thought has never left me in my entire life.
People are met with decisions. They're met at crossroads, and sometimes they buckle at the knees because of the obvious opposition. There are some folk that buckle at the knees and they walk away. But there are some people that are so defiant that they say, even if I perish, let me perish. But I know I'm supposed to be here at this particular time for this particular cause. And if I perish, then let me perish.
But if I have to really credit the right people, it would have to be my mother and my father. Now, most people like to think that blacks have not always been against wrong, but that is absolutely not the case. Basically, everything I did before he died, and he had done everything except the last thing before he died, the chief engineer was my father. And before my father was my mother. Actually, my mother created and developed me. I mean, she wouldn't even let me call her mother. I couldn't do anything that would indicate anything was superior to me, including calling my mother and father, mother or father.
So may I ask, what did you refer to them as?
I called her Miss Roxy and my father Cap, C-A-P.
So was it intimidating, or was it an offense that you couldn't call your mother mother?
To, to her, it was important that that I not feel inferior to anybody.
I see. I see. So how important, when you look at today and you go back 80 years later, early in your life, how important, because when you take a look at the modern family, the African American family, even the white family, it is ravaged. How important, Dr. Merritt, is it for fathers to be engaged in the lives of their children?
Oh, it is really important. Before I was 12 years old, I knew every book in the Bible. And I knew every book in the Bible because my father taught me. I mean, he was the primary teacher because I spent more time with him than I did with my mother. But they both taught me. And I actually believe in God and Jesus Christ, particularly Jesus Christ.
Right.
I believe that good should be good and evil should be evil.
Right.
I believe that right was right, wrong was wrong. I really believe it. And that's why I went to Old Miss, because I thought it was right for me to go to a school that my daddy paid taxes for. I thought it was wrong for the other things that were happening that were not right. So that was my motivation.
But you had other choices. All right. You had Jackson State, you had Tougaloo, you had Valley, but you were emphatic. Ole Miss is where I'm gonna go.
Because most people don't know it, but actually, I went to Jackson State 3 times as long as I went to Ole Miss. I mean, and all I had to do was pay a $4 graduation fee to get a diploma. But if I got a diploma from Jackson State, that would have made me ineligible to transfer. Uh, there's so many things that people don't know.
Certainly. And I tell you what, I should do a part 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8 with Dr. James Merritt, and certainly would be privileged and love that opportunity. But you get to the steps of Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, and the administration, Lord, they are defiant. You are not going to walk in these doors. And you are equally as defiant. I'm going to go through.
And of course, that's the significance of my father. I mean, basically, actually, I filed an application in 1961. I actually got out of the military in 55 the first time and came back. But my father decided that it was the wrong time because that was
The wrong time for you to be in the military,
no,
or the wrong time for you to be in school.
no, to attempt to break the
I
system
see.
of white supremacy by going to, uh, you know, this black-white thing was real. I mean, particularly in Mississippi, there hadn't been a single known person go to a white school or white go to a black school in Mississippi. They were dead serious about separation of the races. I mean, so, and of course, my father knew that a whole lot better, more than I did. He's the one that did most of the planning and calculating.
Really?
And everybody talk about like they started the movement in the 60s. I mean, most blacks ain't never lacked this wrong.
So I'm
question
gonna
my mouth.
I'm gonna be the interpreter because I want to make sure that people don't miss this message. This is why I brought him here. Now let's go back to what he said. First of all, he knew what his calling was when he was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Before he was 4 years old. So understand this. You know your fingerprint don't change when you go to Harvard. Your eye colors don't change when somebody gives you a good job. Oprah Winfrey didn't. Oprah Winfrey was born with whatever is in her. So do all these people were born with their gifts and talents. So you should know this at an early age, which means that if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're 55 years old or 22 years old, it's not that you don't know.
And let me say this also, because you can hear my phone beeping over here. I got a lot of people asking me, is there a phone number that they can call and open up the James Meredith? Let me tell you what I'll do. I'm going to, Mac, will you work it out and get permission from Dr. Meredith that he'll come back and then we'll open up the phone line. But I think it's important. Won't be able to do it today.
Yeah.
All right, we won't be able to do it today.
Because we did not plan this. I'm surprising Larry. He invited me on the show. This is like
I know.
And we've talked about this
but I want him to come back
ago.
and then we'll open up the line and people say hello to him.
So let me back to the viewer or whoever requested that. We will do that.
Several people are requesting this.
Well, I want to give them a
not
request.
just a.
I want to give them a request. We will do this for you if your intention is to actually do something with the information.
Say it's blowing up. Yeah.
Because we're not here for fun. This is not comic relief.
Right.
We're not here for entertainment.
And
we are here to hold on. If you look at out your window, if you watch the news, the world is a critical state. A young lady off of overpass and killed herself from Murray yesterday.
Right.
If this is not alarming to the population of every color, then we've got big problems.
Yeah.
We do too much smiling.
Yeah.
And glad handing. You can't do too much praying, but praying needs to go with work.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll certainly come back.
Faith without works
and
is
we
dead.
will open up the phone line, but only if you all are serious about finding out what you can do so that we can do something about this world. We have to do something.
And so so the emphasis of my question is, Dr. Meredith, he can be on a yacht somewhere.
He's 88.
He can be on a, but you're just as passionate. I see the energy. I feel the energy in your voice, Dr. Meredith. You can be on your couch watching TV, writing books, and going all around the world and lecturing. You do that, but you have just as. It seems to me that you have just as much passion as you did.
It's called doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned with my very special guest, Dr. James Meredith and Matt McAfee on Defining Moments.
And we gotta finish that.
So then let's go ahead and finish. Now, listen, broadcasting. I gotta take intakes and out breaks like this is new to you. So you said let's finish, then let's go ahead and finish.
So first of all, your life's work is born with you.
Yeah.
He knew before he was 4 years old what he was supposed to do, and I did too.
Now let me put some scripture behind what you just said. Ephesians 2:10 says that we are God's handiwork, and I'm talking to a theologian here
and a hoodlum.
Yeah, that we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus. One translation say we are God's workmanship, but the Bible says we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus unto good works that God prepared for us beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to ask Dr. Meredith something.
Mm-hmm.
As a historian, I want you to translate that for me and for those that are listening and for those that are watching. Ephesians 2:10, that we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus unto good works that God prepared for us beforehand. I want you to focus more so on that latter part.
When you don't know what to say, the best thing to do is to say that.
That's very good.
That's very good. That's wisdom. Dr. Meredith said that he knew at the age of 4 years old. And that's where you're finding peace in your purpose. A lot of us don't know our purpose. A lot of folk don't know their purpose.
20 seconds.
And because they don't know their purpose, they meander.
But I'm going to show you.
And they move and they move. And
it's important.
And I want you to talk about that when we come back after this commercial break. A lot of people don't know their purpose. You may not know your purpose and you don't have peace. And so Mac is going to share. Hopefully Dr. Meredith will share where to find your peace. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Defining Moments. Thank you for joining me at this historic occasion. I'm with Dr. James Meredith. as well as Mac McAfee. So I asked the question: how do you find your purpose?
Okay.
Because God has created each of us with purpose.
So, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Mhm.
We've got to reverse engineer this thing. How do you know if you don't know what your purpose is? First, find out what your purpose isn't. Your purpose isn't to commit crimes against humanity. Well, maybe that's somebody's purpose. You just got to know whether or not that's your purpose. If there are things that are going on around you that you don't feel comfortable with, all right, people sell drugs around you. Is that something you want to do? Well, that's probably not your purpose. Is hurting people something that you feel good about when you see it on TV? If that doesn't make you comfortable, that's not your purpose. So first you eliminate all the things that you're not. So once you make the determination that I am not a bad person, I think I want to be a good person, then you start looking at the things that are what are good. Good people help people. Good people mean the world good. Good people are typically not selfish. Good people get up off the couch and do something when they see people in distress. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's that complicated. Now we have a lot of fancy words, and we have a bunch of scriptures and chapters and verses, and we can retort those things and recount them.
Yeah.
But
I hear
that's
you.
why they put parables in the Bible.
I hear you.
Because Jesus wasn't about fancy words.
Right.
A camel has a better chance of going through the eye of a needle than a rich man getting into heaven. We don't need Harvard and physics and long diatribes to understand that by the time you're 4 or 5 years old, you should know whether or not you're a good or bad person. Number one. After that, then if that is so, then you have a job and a responsibility. And another thing that he said, because I don't want this point to be missed or overlooked or glossed over, talking about something that happened 50 years ago. Yes, he integrated Ole Miss. That's done. Good to talk about it. That is over. What is going on today?
That's
2022.
Yeah, right.
He knew before he was 4 years old because his parents guided him. His parents also taught him to never put himself in a position to feel subjugated to any other human, including his parents. Don't call me mom and dad. Call me Miss Roxy and Cap, so that he understands that he has an inherent level of self-esteem that says that he is, though he is not an adult, he is a young, small adult. So he knows that orientation. And the third thing that he said that is very important. You asked a question about the importance of two-parent homes, fathers, and the family. He said his mother shaped him
Right.
to who he should be, which is not unusual. His mother actually gave him birth. She birthed him. So she not only birthed him, a man can't do that, shaped his personality, but his father planned his strategy.
And let me say this: I'm not not ignoring you, because you can hear my phone beep 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 beep. You can hear my phone over here; it's blowing up.
Yeah, but
So
this conversation's going on down the road.
that's right. So I'm not ignoring you, but I'm not going to open up the lines today. It'll be a next time.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
I'm opening up the line right now. I'm telling you everything you need to know. I'll not be many more questions, because this stuff is not that complicated. We are overcomplicating it. Did he rise on the third day or the second day? That wasn't the point. The point was that he did rise. So if we get caught up fighting over what day of the week, what is the Sabbath day, and that's not the point. The point is of the message of how he lived his life and how he moves forward. So I want to focus and make sure that this conversation comes out with something that people can take away today to do something, because the world is in need.
So go ahead.
So it is important for a father to be in the home.
Yes.
His father actually said, no, I don't think it's time now to apply for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
The environment is not ready. He was not yet mature enough to know that. He needed an older, more mature man to guide him on that. So he is the combination of his mother and his father and his community. And that is why you end up with who he ultimately turned out to be.
So how do you, Dr. Meredith, how do you encourage people who know that they're supposed to be doing that work, whatever that work is?
To learn the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule. The 10 Commandments are designed to heal a broken people. And anybody that suffered slavery and segregation for 600 years are broken people. And the 10 Commandments are designed, that's what God gave them to Moses for, to rebuild a broken people. And Jesus Christ brought the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is love. That is the first and most important commandment.
You're exactly right, because when the children of Israel sought their own righteousness, God inspired Ezra. You're exactly right. When they were caught in captivity, God inspired Ezra back in Jerusalem and to teach the law, because they had become either ill-advised, and they had become contaminated with worldly relationships. And so you're saying, number one, you got to know the law. You got to know what is and what's not. And then love is preeminent. Love solves a multitude of things. That's what you're suggesting.
Right. That you asked, I think, what, I don't remember your question, but I think it was, what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do?
You learn the 10 Commandments, and there is no one I know in Mississippi, an adult, that don't either know the 10 Commandments or know where to find them. And if they don't know them, they can't teach them. But they, anybody that wants an amendment can ask anybody, and I guarantee you there's somebody old enough in the house to know where.
And so that is the energy that you possess now, because I want to focus on that, because you have, as a part of your life's work, is not the totality of your life's work, but as a part of your life's work, that now you're driven on a mission to go into all 82 counties in the state of Mississippi.
Exactly.
To do what?
And actually, the first one will be the 26th, which I think is on a Saturday. As you know, I came through Pearl before,
Right.
because that was the first stage of the 82 mission. But that was to get people to invite me back to talk to the elders, to the religious leaders, and to all the other leaders in the community, to see who would wanted to join this effort to improve our moral character.
So that is as we unpeel the onion, all right, that is the focus of your energy right now, is that we are morally depleted, bankrupt,
And first of all, the majority of people don't know the 10 Commandments. I'm talking about people who ought to know everything in the Bible, but they don't know the 10 Commandments.
So I want to clarify something, because I want to make sure that these messages are updated and that people understand that, they read the Bible and they hear the stories about Moses or Noah, and this seems like so long ago. How is that applicable to today? I want them to know we're talking to you right now, sitting at your desk, painting your fingernails, or on Amazon, or doing whatever you're doing. We're talking to you. So what happened when Moses brought the children of Israel out of Egypt? Then he went to Mount Sinai. If I'm wrong on some of these things, let me know. And we came back down with the 10 Commandments. They were already partying and having a good time. You know what I'm saying? This is what we do. So this is something that's cyclical, that is not just a happenstance today, because what we're talking about is a great awakening. Every 100 years or so, society, the religious sector, and the political sectors get out of balance. So they came up with the YMCAs, the Young Men Christians Association. I think that was in England. And they brought community leaders, men, and put them in an environment where young boys could become accustomed to the judges and different members of society. And by having more men with moral centers engage with these young men as they played ball and swam, then you vicariously get the benefit of having an 88-year-old James Meredith and a 45-year-old Mac, and he can impart his knowledge in that grounding to the young generations. So when these young generations become the next batch of politicians, the next batch of teachers, society changes. And so it has been about another 100 years, and now we're back in that critical state. So this is another great awakening. The simple form of it is to get to that, we've got to get back to the moral centering, which is the 10 Commandments and the Golden Rule.
And basically what you're saying, Dr. James Meredith, is because of the teaching of your father and the molding of your mother, you understand that if you don't get the foundation right, we need to go back and revisit the foundation.
What any human being can do in life depends upon the foundation laid between birth and age 5.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty strong. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a figure of your imagination. It's not an aberration. It's not an oasis. I am with my very special guest, the Honorable Dr. James Meredith and Mac on Defining Moments. Stay tuned. We'll be back. So again, I say thank you for joining me. We know that you look at us and view us, and by choice, I know that you have other things that you could be doing throughout the week. But the fact that you're joining us today, I am grateful for that. I know that many of you are texting me and asked, can we open up the phone lines? We'll do that next time. Hopefully we can get James Meredith back. Hopefully we can get Mac back. He came in now and surprised me, and I'm grateful for that. And that next time, then maybe we'll ask the mayor and my friend over there to give us a long form program that we can just sit and talk about some of the issues that are plaguing our community. And you're saying, Dr. Meredith, the fact that you could be on a yacht, because you've traveled the world over, you've been in the office, you've been in the Oval Office, you have the Rolodex, but you're saying this is a part of your purpose, is to help to restore the moral fiber of our family and of our country.
I say a lot that it's my last mission from God.
30 seconds.
And I think that's probably correct. Because it ain't what it used to be.
Now, and that is
I'm
that,
talking about the old body.
yeah. Well, you know what? You've been blessed with a lot of miles on it, and you've made a significant difference. Hold on just a second. Thank you for joining me, and I know that you drive in your vehicles. You listen to us terrestrially on your vehicles. I know because you text me or you Facebook me and let me know that you enjoy. We have truck drivers listening to us. We have those that follow us via your various social media templates as far as Michigan, Georgia, New Orleans, Pennsylvania. We even have a couple of people from the UK that follow us. And if you're following us today, it is not an aberration. I am honored. I'm honored to have Dr. James Meredith in the studio with us. And I am on this radio program. I have this radio program on this station because of the sacrifice, because he dared to say enough is enough. And you were only doing what your parents taught you to do.
That's correct. And it was more than my parents. It was an entire family situation. I mean, we have to rebuild our society, particularly our family. We have to start with the family unit and move to the extended family unit and to the neighborhood and to the community. You know, one of the most important questions asked in the Bible is, who is my neighbor? Most people today don't know who their neighbor is and don't care.
How would Dr. Meredith, how would you answer that question? How would you educate those that are listening and viewing and watching?
That's the thing about you people with all that experience. Too smart for us regular folks.
Because some people would say the person living next door to me, or the person that has the same color as my skin. That's who I'm supposed to love. I'm afraid that if we don't clarify that question, then
that's the good thing about the Bible. If you read it, that is why we starting the Bible Society. Because if you read the Bible from cover to cover, if you read each chapter as a chapter, instead of taking a sentence here, a sentence there, you ain't no way you would ever get an A in any school using that method. I mean, which means that most people that think they know the Bible don't have no clue about nothing that's in it.
It's interesting that you would say that, because Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do men say I am?" They gave all different kinds of answers. He said, "No, but who do you say I am?" So I asked you that question. How would you respond to that question? And in a teachable moment, you taught me with your response, because your response you took back to the Bible. You said if you would read the Bible, then that's where your answer is.
And I'm going to go a little bit more technical because I want to make sure that these things are applicable. You asked him, how do you educate people to do something that they have the ability to do? Let me go back to the etymology of the word educate.
Mm-hmm.
The Latin meaning of the word educate is to bring forth knowledge from within.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that it's already in you. Now, you talk sweet to your audience, and you should. I'm here because I love them too. But we all have different personalities. So I'm speaking directly saying, you already know what you're supposed to do. Don't play with me. You know. You know what's good, you know what's bad. A dog knows the difference in somebody who mistreats them and somebody who treats them okay. So if the meaning of the word educate is to bring forth knowledge from within, then you should inherently know what you're supposed to be doing. You should inherently know how to love people. If and going to the Bible to define the word, if you don't know what the word love means, the word means if you have a neighbor who's next door, regardless as to what color she is, if you see her bringing her groceries in by herself and she's elderly, go help her bring the groceries in. If you're standing in line at Kroger and a lady is struggling and her cards keep declining, and what you see you have enough money to pay for, put your card in there and pay for it. It's not that complicated. We overcomplicate it because we want a reason not to do it. I think all humans know what is inherently good or bad. And if you don't know, and if you need to brush up on it like we do all the time, and give you a example, when you drive down the way, you see speed signs, 75 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. Now, if you've gone around a certain area of town, you should kind of remember what that speed limit is, but they put it there as a constant reminder that if you don't remember, you're going to get this ticket. So we're giving it to you. So the James Meredith Bible Society wants people to sign up for Bible reading groups so you can go back and get refreshers of what does love mean. So you don't even have to remember all the 10 commandments. He made it easy for you. The greatest commandment is love. If you can just figure out that love thing, then you won't cheat on your neighbor's wife because you love them. You won't kill them. You won't charge them usury. It's very simple. None of this stuff is complex, is what I'm saying. Either we're going to do what we're supposed to do or we're not. So I want to give you an address so that if you would like to go and get more information, it's James Meredith Online. James Meredith Online.
So if people would like to, number one, give, or if they'd like to volunteer, is there a way that they can do all of that?
Yeah, let me don't stop me.
Hold on now. Remember, this program is Defining Moments with Larry Nix. Now, I'm your big brother. Remember this, you my guest. All right. Remember that. So don't get that twisted. Don't get that twisted.
So, sir, there's a donate tab.
Hey, listen. Dr. James Meredith said, "Oh, you gave him permission to be on this program today."
So certainly there's a donation tab on there. I don't even want to talk about the donation tab. God don't need your little money.
I got you.
He don't need your money. He needs you.
Right.
And we don't need your money. We need you. So what James Meredith would like for you to do is we'd like for you to join up for a Bible reading group. He has a list of Bible verses, and he does it. So it's a voluntary thing. It doesn't commit you to anything. You don't have to pay any money. It's just sign up. You have to have a minimum of 3 people. So you sign up, get you a group, and sign up, and he shows how he reads the Bible, and he takes it in stages, weekly, monthly, so that if you just follow that path, you can choose to or not. Then in 12 months, you will have read the whole Bible. It's non-commitment. You just sign up and say that that's what you're going to do. So you go to James Meredith Online. You pick you 2 other people, 3 people total, and you name your Bible reading group. Mine is called the Promise Keepers. You know,
Mhm.
and you don't have to be in Mississippi. You can be anywhere. It's a website. This is 2022. You can
Right.
be in the UK.
James Meredith
Online.com.
online.com.
Join our Bible reading group, and then you can start getting into this. And the Bible pretty much tells you what it is that we're supposed to do. And every human is capable of doing it. And it's not that difficult. And it really makes the world better when we all do it.
I know when people see you, Dr. Meredith, the first thing that they want to do is to have a history lesson back over again. And Max said something interesting. He said, okay, we got that 50 years ago. That's good. But now let's talk about what we need to do now. Let's talk about what we need to do. How hard is it to break through you spending a lot of time trying to get people history lessons and them worshiping you, you know, as opposed to engaging in the work that you're trying to do?
I haven't figured out how to get it done. Not the first yet. I told you. Next week, if it's successful, will be the first of the 82 that I have done what you said.
Right. Is there a timeline that you want to accomplish going to all 82 counties?
Well, my commitment is that I'm going to go to all 82 if God let me live that long.
Okay.
And as I said, I've been promising I'm going to do this for way over 50 years now. And we are just working on the first. As a matter of fact, it is, and I have not seen this person. It is the mayor of the city.
Okay.
That's
your access point. That's where you start.
This is the person that invited me on the 26th.
Got it. Okay. So
to meet with religious people, elders, leaders of 10, leaders of hundreds, leaders of 1,000, and that group in the Bible is referring to the criminals.
Ooh.
You when you want to make the world a better place, you want everybody to be better people.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And not just a group of people or one or a section of people or one particular.
And particular people who already claim to be good, who are basically hypocrites.
15.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. It is what it is, and you just got to take the medicine. More defining moments. My guest, Dr. James Meredith and Matt McAfee. It's interesting you would say that because when Jesus was at the pool being baptized and he saw the Pharisees and Sadducees, he says, he called them broods of vipers, you know. And so the church needs to do a better job. This church is not some zip code or some building. The church is composed of people. But you're saying sometimes the most dangerous, and I want you to talk to that because actually I included that in the blasting. Sometimes the church folk can be the most dangerous people because they create this. We just had a distinguished gentleman to walk in, Mayor Wyndham, who's actually the CEO of this radio station. So
Sorry, y'all do it.
So
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's all right, Mayor Wyndham. Mayor Wyndham has been on this program, and I tell you what, it was a delightful honor to have him on the program. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm with my distinguished guest, Dr. James Meredith, on Defining Moments. He's not an aberration. He's not a figure of your imagination. I am honored to have him as our very special guest with Matt McAfee. And so
about 10 minutes.
And so you said, thank you so much, Josh, doing an incredible job squeezing out every second for me. So you're saying sometimes that you're the opposition to good, not the folk in the world, the folk in the church, Dr. Meredith.
Well, Oh boy, y'all get me in trouble today. Some years back, the big issue in Mississippi was whether or not blacks could go into the service of white churches. The biggest deal in Jackson, the First Baptist Church, which is the biggest,
Right.
most influential church. And they hired guards to keep the blacks from coming into their service. Oh, about 30 years ago, the blacks hired guards to keep them drug dealers and hoodlums from breaking in their car while they was in the church. Don't think about coming in here messing up that pretty red carpet. I mean, so you all trying to get me run out of town. But I mean, you. The biggest, I think I heard somebody say something about some girl killing herself in Jackson.
Jumping off a bridge.
I thought you was talking about the one in New York.
No,
Yeah, another one.
just yesterday.
But you understand, I was in not Brookhaven, but Macomb yesterday, and mostly they just wanted me to take pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
But only one person I talked to, and that was the chief of police. And I asked him a question. What is the crime thing now?
Right.
What's the Macomb?
Right.
And he hard and simulated.
Right.
Trying to get out of telling the truth.
Right. Right.
And then he finally said the biggest problem is these young blacks shooting each other. I said, what in the world could you be talking about? What age? 18 to 25. And I said, well now, do they know that's wrong? The parents ain't teachers. Do the parents know? He had to agree they didn't know either.
Right. That's right.
I mean,
Right.
so he said that the parents, the old folks, see them come home driving that pretty new car and know they ain't got no job.
Right. That's right.
Because
Right.
every time they want something to eat, they come here.
Right.
I mean, and then the parent or the adult don't even ask them where they got the car. I mean, they. So we got a lot to deal with.
Mm.
We got a lot to deal
And
with.
what you're saying, Mac, and I've always enjoyed that kind of open relationship with you. You're saying,
Fake, phony Christians.
okay,
Fake, phony Christians. Don't fool yourself. Jesus was not a Christian. A Christian is to be Christ-like. He wasn't trying to be like Christ. He was Christ. You know what I'm saying? So what is a Christian? It should be defined by what it is that you do. So let me take you back just in case some people think that this is some new anomaly. Just like I told you about the Great Awakening. This is something that has gone on throughout centuries. They've had critical problems with society, and you had to maintain society and change it. So just like the sun that you wake up and see every morning, that's not a new sun. Guess what? That's the same sun that your grandmother looked at, and it's the same sun that your great-great-grandmother looked at. So there is no new thing under the sun. So let's not pervert these messages. Let me be clear. Are the churches to blame for a lot of this? 100%. What happened in King Herod's temple? The money changers were in King Herod's temple, gambling, doing everything that they do, loaning money. And what did Jesus do? He turned over the table and took a whip and put it on their behinds. Was that not an official place, a church, a temple? This has been going on for a very long time. So what you see that's going on in the church right now, and let me be specific. If every church took responsibility for every need in a 1 mile radius, single mothers, the old folks, the kids who don't have anybody to help them with their homework. Do you know how many churches there are? The world within 6 months.
And let me interrupt you for 1 second. We're interested. Dr. Meredith says the answer, go to the Bible, read the 10 Commandments, and then understand the golden rule. Some would say that's so simple. And Dr. James Meredith, and you're saying it is just that simple.
We know it's simple.
It's not that complicated. The reality is, if you want to do it.
Fake, phony Christians pretending that you're something that you are not. When Moses went before Pharaoh, he didn't take a college degree. He didn't take a bank card. He didn't take a law license. You don't need any of these things to recognize when something is wrong in society. You have a responsibility to do something. People say, well, when I get some money, I'm really going to help these people. If you won't help somebody with $10, you're not going to help them with $10 million.
So what keeps you,
So it's time for us to start being real, because the world is on fire where we're having fancy conversations about complicated philosophies, wearing $10,000 suits, driving in Lexuses, going to big houses. And girls from Murrah High School, this girl went to a counselor and told her, went to a coach and supposedly got into it with the coach, had problems at home. I hear that the whole board was at the school, including the superintendent, was at that school on that day. If I'm wrong, call me. And this girl was accosted by adults when she was trying to find some help. She was crying out for help. Went to the counselor, I heard. I was in Louisiana when I heard this. So the whole world heard it. And this girl told them, I'm going to kill myself. Walked out of a school all the way down to an overpass, jumped off of an overpass and killed herself. This is what's going on in society. What is this child going through? It's the people sitting back talking about, well, what does love mean? Well, what are we supposed? You know what you're supposed to do.
And as intense as you are, Dr. Meredith, anytime I have observed you, it appears that you've just been unimpressed with humanity. Now, the reason that I say that is because you don't. It appears to me that you don't move at the whim of man.
Can I pause you right before you go to that?
Go ahead.
Because I got to give this human being. This girl just committed suicide yesterday.
Right.
I need to let that stay right there for one moment.
Yeah, but I was going to move into that, Mac. I'm not discounting that.
This is a call to action to society.
I got that. But the reality, so I'm not discounting that a person lost their life, and we need to pause for 30 seconds. We need to fix this. Yes. All right, we need to fix this. There's something broken, and Dr. Merritt is saying what I'm telling you is nothing new. I don't have a new formula as to what I'm telling you. He's saying that we need to go back and to address the foundation, and what has been able to keep him. I'm not putting words in his mouth. What has been able to keep him is because he understands the foundation that he's been able to live life on. And I believe that one of the issues that we have in the family is because the foundation is raggedy.
And it's simple now.
Yeah.
The world needs your help. The world needs you.
Yeah.
The world needs you to get out of your car, off your couch, put down your college degree, and help somebody who needs you.
I say this, James Meredith Bible Society.com, right?
JamesMeredithOnline.com.
Online, all right. Dr. Meredith, thank you so much for being on Defining Moments, sir. We look forward to you being here again. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been my delightful pleasure to have Dr. James Meredith and Mac McAfee. We'll see you next week.
All right.
So, if you had one last word to share with my audience, that are watching us, one last word, what would that be, Dr. Merritt?
Thank you. Thank you for this program. Pearl, Mississippi is fastly becoming the most important place in the state of Mississippi. Mississippi is the most important place in the world.
Wow. I'll see you next week.
Clear.
I could stay